Uh, welcome back, everybody. Вітаємо ще раз всіх, вітаємо на другій сесії. Welcome to the second session of our Eparchial Sobor. Parishes are still joining in, but to keep on schedule as best as possible, let's begin with a prayer. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. In the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Heavenly King, Advocate, Spirit of truth, who are everywhere present and fill all things, treasure your blessings, bestower of life, come and dwell within us, cleanse us of all that defiles us, and, O good one, save our souls. Slava Otцю і Сину і Святому Духові, і нині час і на віки віків. Амінь. Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй. Преосвященний владико, благослови.
God bless all of us in this our Sobor now and forever and ever.
Amen. Despota. Okay, so as everybody sees, Vladika is on a plane heading from Chicago to Minneapolis to ordain our fifth deacon of the year. So, щасливої дороги, Vladiko, and we'll see you when you land. In the meantime, so once again, welcome everybody to the second session of our Eparchial Sobor. Today, the topic is our parishes today. So our keynote speaker is the Synkel for the laity, Father Roman Artemovich, who is here in the room with me. I will hand it over to Father Roman in just a moment. After that, we will have very short presentations from the eparchial commissions, liturgical, laity, and catechetical. So without further ado, I want to make sure that I can share my screen. Yes, indeed. Allow me to introduce the associate pastor here at Saints Volodymyr and Olha, Father Roman Artemovich. Отче Романе, будь ласка.
Slava Isusu Christu, glory to Jesus Christ. So my name is Father Roman Artemovich, and as our deacon told, I am the head of the pastoral office of our eparchy, and today is our job to represent what is going on in our eparchy at nowadays. So I want to start my presentation with really, from my point, a really interesting research, the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church in USA between the past and the present. That was made by Professor Oksana Mikheeva and from Ukrainian Greek Catholic University and from Lviv. So our Doctor of Medicine, Bogdana Dobrovolska, really helped to make it real. And this research is really represent a little bit history, but of course, what's going on now. So there are a lot of different witnesses, people sharing their thoughts about how it was and how it is. So this is really, really important and interesting research. I really encourage all of you to read it. You can find it on our eparchial website. You can see Chicago, ugcc.org. In the news, you can find it and download and read it. So that's really interesting to see what people thinking about how it was and how it is. So I just have a couple points to talk about. And first of all, of course, about our religious identity, ethnocentrism of our church. So we can talk about our church. So that's a question. This is national church, or we are the part of universal church. And later you can see how people identify themselves, who we are. So here we see some next one. That's how people understand our Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. So almost 60% believe that our church, Ukrainian and Catholic Church. Almost 25% thinking that our church more Ukrainian church, and little something like 10% that's a Catholic church, and 8% they don't know what to say. So that's really interesting how we identify ourselves, who we are. And so from the 1980s, when we call it forced way of migration from Ukraine, the situation was a little bit changed. So you can see here how in 1990s there was almost 160,000 members, and 2017 they say that we have something like 50,000 of our parishioners, people in our church. But we should understand that our people from Ukraine, they not always thinking and understand that you have to belong to church. You have to be, like a member of church. So they don't understand that, because there was in Ukraine like that. You just attend the church. You just go to church, and that's how it is. So if we see 50,000 of people, that's not really, I think, realistic. But that's what research represents us. And you can see the similar picture in Canada too. So
can you progress the slides, please?
Sorry?
The slides are not moving. Are they supposed to? Are you still on number 1?
Oh, really? No. Let's see what's going on. So you just saw on the first page?
Yes.
Oh. What about now?
Oh, it's better. Thank you.
Oh, sorry for that. Thank you that you told us, because at our computer everything works good. All right. So what we have now, here we have also ideas about can we unite those ideas, Ukrainian and American and Catholic, and the best way our people who was made that research, who was they saying about, we need to find ways to harmoniously combine those ideas, and then it's going to work good. If we go in to talk only one side, that's not going to work how it has to be, and not going to be, we can say, comfortable for all of parishioners. And what else we have here? No, okay. So there was a lot of talk about language, because we know that some of our parishes use English, some of our parishes use Ukrainian, some like both languages, trying to combine that. And there is a, sometimes it can be even conflict about that, because we should understand that language can be like a barrier, to understand liturgy, prayer, and just to feel comfortable. So our parishes need to find a way what is more comfortable, what is more like useful, and everyone really comfortable and understand what's going on, understand the liturgy, understand the prayer. Okay, now. So as I told you, we have sometimes Ukrainian language services, sometimes English, and we need to think what is more comfortable for us, what is more useful, and that's the always has to be discussion, always has to be cooperation, and we need to find the best way. That's what participants really share their thoughts about language. So that's really interesting. And the main part, what I want to talk today, that's what keeps the community together after the liturgy. So what do we have besides the liturgical life at our parishes? And of course, first, what participants always say, events, different events, that we can gather together, festivals, joint dinners, some community, gathering. That's what people really like and really want to participate. So, we need to think, do we have something like that? And that, because that's can be really, really helpful to our parish community to, be together and like feel like one group, one family. And also our participants talking about small groups. So we're talking about different sisterhood, brotherhood, Bible reading, different activities, but in a small groups. So what they say in first, that's of course spiritual practices, and together with the liturgy, that's a space for spiritual and self development. And secondary, that's parishioners can learn about each other needs and problems and respond to them in a timely manner. And thirdly, such a small group can be a space for forming and expanding the core of the community, training leaders and other for other spheres of the church life. So that's really, effective, and we can say, and sometimes it really works good. So we always have to think about, do we want to try that, do we need that, and or we maybe already have it. Activities for children, that's a big topic, and other people who was making that research, they always heard about activities for children. So one of the reason why families participate in church life, because they have children and they want their children to raise in a Christian community, creates needs for church activities and for children. So Sunday schools, different evangelization of children, that's really can connect people, kids together, and makes new friends. So that really works great, and beside of the children, the parents always gather together. So for example, at our parish we have a catechism for first communion, and of course we have catechism for the parents. So they are together waiting for kids, and you can talk with them. You can do some evangelization. So what next? Choir. A lot of participants talked about that choir helped them, to feel like a part of the family, and that's not only singing, for the holy liturgies, but that's some kind of small community, that people can be together and come closer to each other. So that's the same. Financial donations. So here the same financial needs of the parish. A lot of times they like help the people feel that's my community, that's my family. I want to share something. I want to be the part of that parish. So financial donation can really help people also, to be the part. But of course, there has to be like clear situation about what we have, what funds do we collect, what we spend in, and because that can be big problem and for a community, and we can have different conflicts. Of course, there was a talking about old families, we can say, and new arrived, parishioners, that old members really have that feeling that this is my parish and I want to support it. I want to like take care about my parish. But new arrived people, unfortunately, not always thinking that this is my responsibility. Yes, I'm in a church, I can give some small donation, but that's enough, but unfortunately we can see, especially in the big cities, we can see that dynamic, that not always new arrived people thinking about parish like my responsibility. This is my responsibility to take care. And ministry and evangelism, that's the same topic that can gather people together and keep them together. So all participants talk about that. That's really not always, not only evangelization, but also like a good way to be together, to to know each other, and that's one more point, that people can be together after the liturgy, as we're talking about. So that's really short about what I wanna said, and so that's we're going to talk today about what's going on in our parishes, and what we think, like if people get together. So I have one question here, but we're going to talk about it later. What keeps our community together after liturgy? First, we're going to have three more presentations about our liturgy, about our catechism, and one more, and laity committee. So thank you very much. That was really my short presentation about that really great research that you can always read it, and open for you a lot of witnesses, what people really think, what people really want to share, how they understand our church, and how we can find some specific unique place at all of our parishes. Thank you very much.
Okay, дякуємо, Отче Романе. Thank you, Father Roman. Indeed, it is a fascinating read, the Dr. Dobrovolska's and her colleagues' report on really what is going on with our parishes. They put a lot of research into it. Oftentimes theology and the scientific method do not mesh, but I think in this case it really did. So for those of you who did not have a chance to read that, to read the report, I know it's in Ukrainian. Is it in English also, Watcher?
I'm not sure.
We're not sure, but we, if for some reason it is not yet available in English, I guess we have.
It was delivered in English.
It was delivered originally in English. Okay, дякую, Отче Андрію. So it is available in English and Ukrainian. So we can certainly circulate that to everyone. So next, let us. Oh, sorry, I should stop sharing. One moment, please. I will get my computer back to where it needs to be for the folks in the room with me. All right. Next, we would invite the chair of our liturgical commission, Father Protodeacon Marko Krutyak, to give his presentation. Отче Протодіаконе, whenever you're ready.
Видно? Так, видно. Слава Ісусу Христу!
Слава навіки.
Glory be to Jesus Christ. Today I'm going to do a short little presentation about our Eparchial Liturgical Commission. Kind of give you an update on where we have been, what we are doing, and what we are looking forward to doing in the coming year. So the purpose of our liturgical commission is to prepare, publish service texts and other literary materials for liturgical use, to advise on the regulation of liturgical rubrics and worship for the eparchy, and also to share information and advice on liturgical matters with the clergy of the eparchy. How do we do this? As I'll show you in the coming slides, we have already published several service texts or notes on how to serve particular services. We can do continuing education Zoom meetings with our clergy, which we actually began this past week, and this will be going on in the coming months for this year. And to advise on regulation of liturgical rubrics, again, that's also via letters, via the blessing of Bishop Benedict. So here are some of the completed projects which our commission has completed. It's the weekly propers, which many of you have seen, which have been for both calendars, and we're still kind of on both calendars because of the Paschalia, which you should be receiving via email or via links on Facebook on Wednesday or Thursday of every week. The abridged matins, which also known as Resurrectional Meleving, which we highly recommend every parish to serve, especially if they do not serve matins on Sundays. Vladika would like all the parishes to hear a resurrectional gospel, because you really don't hear a resurrectional gospel. Even on the day of Pascha, you hear the resurrectional gospel on Holy Saturday. We also published a Meleving of the Mother of God, Meleving at the time of war, which was more recent, an altar server's handbook, notes for the hierarchical divine liturgy, especially now that Vladika visits all of our parishes often. So it's good to have, especially for your cantors, for your priests, or for your choir masters. And instructions on receiving a hierarch at a parish, which was published a little over a year ago, which gives you the guidelines of how the process of a visitation of the bishop to a parish takes place, and how everything takes place from the time of inviting the hierarch through the liturgy until the end of the liturgy. So there's instructions for the clergy and for the faithful parishioners. Current and future projects. We are currently working on a bilingual divine liturgy pew book, which would be more standard for our eparchy, which will give everybody opportunity to have a book in hand, which will include explanations of certain parts of the liturgy also. A necrology. And this necrology is a list of all the departed clergy and bishops that were on the territory of the United States and priests of our eparchy. This will be actually published at the end of this month, and for the use of your clergy, of your priests, at every divine liturgy during the Proscomedia service. And then we also are working, besides the divine liturgy, a series of liturgical books for eparchial use, which will include matins, vespers, and books on for the holy mysteries, for the mysteries of initiation, for the mystery of Holy Crowning, and also a book which will be used for pochron, for burial services. The purpose of this is to make uniformity in our eparchy, liturgically. Liturgical goals for our eparchy. Every parish should offer liturgical services besides the divine liturgy, vespers, matins, and especially the Lenten services, which include the great canon of St. Andrew of Crete, the liturgy of the presanctified gifts, and all the services during Holy Week. It's been noticed that many parishes do not offer this, and it's understood because sometimes parishes do not have a cantor that could sing, but that's why we have the Mission Institute. So If you do not serve these services, please find someone that's interested in cantering, have them join the Mission Institute. I'm sorry for the plug, but have them join the Mission Institute for the cantor courses, and they'll be prepared to serve these services. Another goal is standardizing liturgics at parishes throughout the eparchy for uniformity. It'll be easier for all of us, especially for our clergy, if they go from one parish, they visit another parish, or they have to help out in another parish, to have uniformity. That way they have the same text, the traditions, liturgical traditions are being observed. That way there's no confusion. Liturgical education of the faithful. Liturgical education of the clergy, which I also discussed. The Mission Institute is a great tool where we have a liturgical regulation course. We're having the continuing education this year for the clergy on liturgical services, and it's more practical for them to have more uniformity and to understand what they were doing during the liturgy. And as I mentioned, offering standardized liturgical texts for parish use. And in short, that's what I have for our presentation. So thank you for your attention, and we look forward to working with all the parishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Proto-Deacon. If I can ask a quick question before I forget. The bilingual book for the Divine Liturgy is something that is badly needed, and I think we all agree on that. Is there an idea, or is part of your plan to also do a transliteration of Ukrainian?
Yes.
Because we, using the Cyrillic alphabet, people come in and they cannot read that. When, if, for example, a parish has a bilingual liturgy, and they tend to get lost there. So is there a transliteration aspect to that project as well?
Yeah, so for many of you who might be familiar with the liturgical books, which was published by St. Joseph Parish by blessed memory, Father Pavlo Haida, these books will be based loosely on those books. So there will be a transliteration of the Cyrillic also in the margins.
Okay, Yakuyu, thank you for that. Yeah, the idea was, I myself took the idea when I was in law school, and there was a Greek Orthodox parish right down the street. Their liturgical book had 4 columns: Greek in Greek letters, transliterated Greek, English, and then an explanation, and it was just wonderful. So
that's what we're hoping to publish.
Yes, perfect. Okay. So so again, Yakuyu Oche Protodiakone, and we'll open things up to everybody for comments and questions like we did last time. So if we can move on, can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. This is the report of the Catechetical Commission, which was reconstituted earlier this year at Vladyka's request. Father Roman approached me, and then we met with Vladyka, and Vladyka asked me to again revive the Catechetical Commission. So we are just getting started with our work, but we have undertaken 2 immediate projects. Right now, the commission is on the small side. We started with 5. We unfortunately lost 1 member. There are 4 of us, and we are all another plug for the Mission Institute. We are all alumni of the Mission Institute, but we will be expanding the commission with Vladyka's blessing going forward. 2 immediate projects that we undertook was, number 1, a questionnaire to the parishes, just to see what was going on, what the parishes were able to do as far as catechesis goes. And then the other part of our work has been to begin gathering free resources into one location. And we will we'll get to both of those in due course. But let's start with the questionnaire. So we sent out a questionnaire to all the parishes. 5 parishes responded, but we also, the members of the commissions also knew what was going on in their parishes. So we did get 5 responses, but we really know what was going on in 8 of our parishes. The good began with preparation for first confession. Pretty much, it seems that every one of our parishes has a worked out plan for preparation for children in the 2nd grade or 3rd grade, whatever your parish does, to prepare for first confession. That is the one thing that we found is well taken care of pretty much across the board. Another wonderful thing that we found is that there is a focus on Eastern Catholic resources. The God is With Us series in English, both for children and for adults. And we'll see that when we, a little later in the presentation. The God is With Us resources are being heavily used in our eparchy, and that is wonderful to see because at least according to them, God is With Us is the official publishing house and official catechesis resource collection for the Eastern Catholic bishops in the United States. And then a lot of our parishes are using in Ukrainian resources that are being put out by our own Patriarchal Commission on Catechesis. If one goes onto that website, one sees that there really is a lot of information and a lot of resources, both for children and for adults in Ukrainian. Right now, the English version of the Patriarchal Commission does not have many resources, but perhaps those of us here living in the English-speaking world can start participating in perhaps some translations of those materials that we have. But that is a work in progress, and I think that's a phrase that comes up very often with respect to catechesis in our parishes. The best results with children were, and the general consensus that we got from everybody was, keep it short. Keep it short. Hands-on projects with younger children. Keep it to less than 30 minutes. That, from the reports that we got, seemed to work well. A 10-minute children's homily seemed to work well also. I think those of us who've been to Roman Catholic parishes every now and again see that after the gospel reading, they sing, "Let the children come to me," all the children process out, they have their own lesson, and then they come back for the offertory. At least one of our parishes did something similar, well, perhaps without the singing of "Let the children come to me," but at least, one of our parishes did a children's homily, and that seemed to work well. And one of our parishes had a unique idea to make catechesis of children self-directed, with kids being given homework, and then they bring it back, and the pastor looks at it and perhaps discusses with children what they may not have gotten exactly right. And the beauty of that is that when the parents who are asked to check the homework before it is brought to the pastor themselves learn something. So that was a lovely, beautiful, unique idea that we really wanted to share with everybody. The best results with adults: liturgical services with catechesis and a meal. Parish picnics came up. in the responses. That was a very that was something where people where the people were willing to hang around and listen to some catechetical teachings outside of a homily that really does need to be focused on that day's gospel. Another thing is written articles. Give people access to information and catechetical teaching outside of the divine liturgy, outside of services, that they can read on their own time. Everybody's busy. Everybody has their unfortunately, well, the world is what it is. And so parish magazines, bulletins, newsletters, that seems to be a very good way of getting some additional teaching. Father Wayne, for example, in Dearborn, I'm fortunate enough to have gotten on his mailing list, email mailing list, not too long ago, and there's just some wonderful stuff in there. So again, that can be distributed to everybody. We here at VNO, we have a parish magazine, and I have begun to write catechesis articles there and have gotten some good feedback. So again, let people, with adults, a liturgical service, a vespers on a Saturday evening every now and again with a meal. Food brings people in, and written articles. So if we move on to the not so good in the answers to the questionnaire, pretty much everybody said it is exceedingly difficult to get attendance at traditional or even somewhat non-traditional classes. Weekday evenings via Zoom for adults. A lot of, or on more than one occasion, we hear that there is interest at first and then it wanes. People get busy, especially as we approach Pascha, and everybody, and a lot of folks are already attending Lenten services, and there are Lenten missions. If you start in September and you have an idea for an academic year, again, it'll start strong in September and October, and then as people get busy and holidays come around, interest wanes. Saturday classes for kids were tried at several parishes, and unfortunately there was poor attendance. And then even during Sunday fellowship, during coffee hour, people want to socialize. So attempts at having catechesis for adults, at least during social hour, just doesn't work. Didn't seem to work. People wanted to really see each other, especially in our cases where it's not like we live and work together all week. We only see each other once a week. The difficulty with children is mitigated somewhat by children attending Catholic school as their primary education, or, pardon the expression, Yuki school. If one is in a bigger community like Detroit or Chicago, or even Seattle now, I understand has a pretty dynamic community with Ukrainian school and Plast and Zoom and all sorts of things. So if one has religion classes in Saturday Ukrainian school, the difficulty with children is mitigated there. But then we come to the lost sheep, high school, especially older high school and university age students. Our young folks go off to college and they're lost. We now have this wonderful gift of Zoom and YouTube and all sorts of things that we can now use. But for the time being, the lost sheep indeed are the high school and the university age students, and they come back to church when they get married and they have their own children, and then and they bring their kids in for baptism and first communion. And then of course there is the general sense of competing for people's time. We got some feedback from the parishes saying, well, my parishioners told me, well, only Sunday morning is for God. That's my tithe of time. I give 1/10 of my week to God on Sunday morning, and the rest, well, I need to take care of my own stuff. And then we have the perennial problem, or the not even perennial, but the constant problem of cultural Ukrainian Catholics, and this is along the lines of what Otec Roman just said. People are come to church for various reasons, some of which, for better or for worse, do not have to, are not in line with with hearing the word of God. Let me put it that way, delicately. So that was, so those are those were the so that was the project of gathering information from the parishes. A lot of good, some not so good, but again, as we said, it's a work in progress. So the second part of our commission's work has been to create what's called a Padlet. Our vice chair, Father Deacon Chris Schenk, is a teacher by trade, and he uses this online resource called a Padlet, where we can share stories, where we can share not stories, but educational materials with everybody. So Father Deacon Chris, if you are here, I will stop sharing my screen, and can you very quickly take us through the Padlet?
Yes, sounds great. Thank you, Father Deacon. I'm going to share my screen here. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, excellent. So this website's called padlet.com, and I've created a profile, just basically St. Nicholas Eparchy. And a Padlet is a great web resource. It makes it easily accessible for gathering resources and for sharing resources with people across the country. On this Padlet, it's at padlet.com/Saint_Nicholas. This is where our commission for the greater part of this year has been gathering resources and plugging it into this website. We've broken up the Padlet into 4 separate categories, and a good way to visually think about these categories is they're essentially like giant virtual bulletin boards. And on these bulletin boards, we are able to post separate web resources or PDF documents or videos of just any variety of catechetical resources that we've come across. So let's see here. On our Padlet main page, we've separated these by age levels. We have our 4 to 7-year-olds, our 8 to 12, our 13 to 18-year-olds, and then lastly, the adult catechetics. So as your parish is looking to gear its catechesis towards certain age ranges, you can click into each of these individual Padlets, these virtual bulletin boards, and it will give you different ideas, a database of different resources to use. So let me actually do that. Let me click on adult catechesis. And as it loads, you can see at the very top left, it shows what bulletin board you're looking at. You're looking at the adult catechetics bulletin board. And then our commission has created subcategories, and these are separate columns. So we have Eastern Catholic resources, Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and so forth. The way we have it organized right now is just based off of the particular origin of the resource itself. That could be changed or adapted to be specific content. You could have feast days, you could have separate series. But this is how we've organized it so far. And under each of these columns, I'll click this little bar here, are a variety of resources. These are all different web links or separate lessons that can be clicked on. Some are just one-off lessons, and some are entire series. And Orthodox resources here. So let's say I'm interested in some of these resources under here. If I click this link, the Bible, under the Roman Catholic resources, it'll take me directly to that web page and shows you the variety of resources that some of the Roman Catholic resources that are available. I back out of adult catechesis, I take you to the younger ages. I'll kind of show you. It's a similar layout. In addition to the columns you see here, I have a horizontal scroll bar at the very bottom of my screen. So the space is not limiting like it would be with a physical bulletin board. And then under each of these subcategories, like I spoke about, we're also adding these little little descriptions, is how I would explain it, of kind of what this website is about. So for instance, this short story coloring pages, that's kind of this light blue color. It's a free to print coloring pages with short Bible stories. And if I click on it, it takes me directly to a free resource. Covers a coloring page and then a short scriptural reading for children, and it goes through really the Old Testament here, the Genesis. But yeah, that's essentially what we're working on. We are continuing to add more categories, more resources, opening it up for more than just the commission. If anyone finds great resources, or you're using great resources in your parishes, please send it to our commission so that we can vet it and add it to our website. But I'll turn it back over to Father Deacon Rostic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Father Deacon Chris. So the website is now in the chat. Father Deacon Chris, do folks need special access, or can anybody just access this right now?
That's a good question. Let me check on the settings. If a few people later want to check on access, if you can access it, you can let us know. Or if not, let us know, and I can tweak with the settings. I know they have different privacy levels, but I believe it's open for all people to see.
And of course, if anybody has, sorry.
Only 7 is visible currently publicly.
Only the 4 to 7-year-olds, you said?
Yes. Yes, visible.
Okay.
Yeah. Father
Okay,
Rahman
I'll
was
go
saying
in
the
and
same thing. So
okay.
yeah. So Father
Also,
Deacon Chris will work on that, and we'll make sure that all 4 are available to everybody. Okay.
It
And
needs
then
to
of
be
course, if anybody
registered.
has any resources of their own, we want to focus on free resources. We can't, unfortunately, if you've bought a book or so, if anything is purchased, more likely than not, it is subject to copyright laws. So we cannot post anything for public consumption that is not available for free. But you will see that we do, especially with the God is with us, or the God with us website, they have resources for purchase there as well. So it's not that we don't want to put it on, but we certainly don't want to get the eparchy in trouble for violating any copyright laws. So very quickly, to wrap up our catechesis commission's presentation, as it is with the parishes, as it is with us, it is a work in progress. You all at the parishes really do need to decide what works for you, but we here at the eparchial level want to help as much as we can. So in addition to the Padlet, some ideas that have been floated are the formation of a catechist collegium, basically an association of catechists of our eparchy, seminars, exchanges of ideas. Do you want, and this is where we're going to ask for feedback, do the parishes want substantive lessons, or do we want lessons of how to reach children? I shared not too long ago with our pastors, there was an online session from one of our Catholic colleges here in the US, how to preach to children, how to get through to children. Is that what may be desired or needed from the parishes? We'd really like to hear from you. Additional materials, as we mentioned, we have to be cognizant of copyright laws, but if you have anything that is free, or if you've developed anything yourselves and are willing to share with the rest of the eparchy, please, 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 by all means, do so. All of your pastors should have Father Deacon Chris's and my emails, and I will put my email in the chat in just a moment. And then finally, is there an interest in catechesis at the eparchial level? Videos, articles, is there an interest among your parishioners if, for example, we had a Zoom presentation to open to basically anybody in the eparchy? Is there interest in that? So those are some of the questions that we are throwing out in addition to Father Roman's question and any questions you may have to Father Proto-Deacon McCaw. So we do need to hear from you. Thank you for everyone's time and attention, and we will come back to questions in a moment. So for the last 10 minutes of our first hour, Pane Ihore, czy wy je?
Так, yes, слава Ісусу Христу. Sorry, is my English
Slava
not good?
Navika. Okay,
I
so
don't know.
this
Somebody
is
can help me translate?
yeah. So so let me introduce you. This is the chair of Our Lady Commission, Father. Well, he should be a father, but he's
No
he's a father biologically, but not a father spiritually. Mr. Ihor Hudek. So, пане Ігоре, будь ласка.
То я можу українською, так?
І будемо so Mr. Ihor will speak in Ukrainian, and I, with the help of perhaps a few others, will try and quickly translate.
Мені дуже шкода, я не зумів достатньо приготуватися. На жаль, я отримав повідомлення про нашу зустріч буквально 5 хвилин тому. І мені дуже шкода, також я не отримав запрошення на минулу зустріч, але, можливо, то не було потреби в цьому. Я хочу лише коротенько розказати про нашу комісію мирян, яка започаткувалася практично зразу з того часу, коли до нас приїхав владика Венедикт. Цього в нас є зараз 12 членів. Це по троє чоловік з кожної парафії Чикагійської. На протязі цих вже 6 років, напевно, ми намагалися робити різного напрямку діяльність в нашій єпархії, зокрема, моніторинг ситуації. Це був один з наших обов'язків. І також вирішувати ті проблеми, які були на той час.
Okay, so we have a laity commission at the eparchy, 12 members, mostly from the parishes here around Chicago, and they began their work pretty much when Vladika came to us several years ago, and they are, and a lot of what they've been doing is monitoring activities and seeing the involvement of the laity throughout our parishes.
Зокрема, ми започаткували позаминулого року так звані духовні посиденьки, де на різні наболілі актуальні проблеми стараємося проводити зустріч із нашими вірними, на яких ми запрошуємо переважно одного представника духовенства, одного мирянства, де обговорюється те чи інше питання.
So right now, a lot of the activity of the laity commission is to organize what we're calling sit-downs on all sorts of moral and ethical topics, and usually a member of the clergy is invited to speak, and it's done throughout the various parishes here in our deanery.
Зокрема, всі питання ми виносимо на обговорення, і присутні голосують, вибирають за тему, яка буде наступного разу, або пропонують свої запитання. Зокрема, однією із чергових наших тем буде питання патріархату, в якій ми надіємось, головним доповідачем буде отець диякон Ростислав Смик, який мені допомагає в перекладі. і він проходиме, очевидно, в знаковому соборі святих Володимира і Ольги, який дуже багато спричинився в змаганні за патріархат нашої церкви. Ми всі цього свідомі.
So the next meeting is scheduled for December. There will be a sit down, and yours truly has been invited to speak. And the topic will be the patriarchate, the efforts to have our church recognized as a patriarchate by the Vatican, by the Universal Church, and its importance and what impact that plays on our church as a whole.
Але сьогодні я б хотівся торкнути іншого його проекту, який ми провели 4 роки тому. Ми робили так зване соціологічне опитування, з яким, можливо, багато хто з вас вже був ознайомлений. Воно було в онлайн форматі, також вживу, і збирали анкети. І опитано було докладно 301 респондент. 301.
So our Laity Commission did conduct its own sociological questionnaire from which they received 301 responses.
Опитування містило багато аспектів, але основному я би хотів коротко розказати про це, що це були аналіз ситуації, які є в нашій єпархії, тому що опитані брали всі парафії, і також пропозиції щодо покращення стану і причини відходу вірних з нашої церкви чи заваги і проблеми, з яких це ставалося.
So the commission looked into various topics. What was basically what was on people's minds, and one of the big things is why, what were some of the reasons where parishioners were leaving their parishes.
Я не знаю, як це технічно зробити, але це опитування є онлайн. Можливо, воно вже комусь пересилалося. Я думаю, що це технічно можна буде якось долучити, аби бажаючі могли з ним ознайомитись. Там є відповідна інфографіка, де в процентному відношенні виділено ті чи інші аспекти, питання і пропозиції. Я думаю, що це можна буде дослати. Я вам, отче дияконе, вчора висилав всі матеріали, так що ви можете їх десь долучити в чаті, щоб люди більш детально ознайомилися. Я лише в загальних рисах хочу сказати, що серед найбільш поширеніших проблем чи запитів, які були висловлені тими людьми, яких опитувалося, було побажання потреба більшої катехізації, більшої праці з молоддю, більше приготування до шлюбних пар, а також допомога тим сімейним парам, які є в кризі.
So some of the issues that were raised were the need for more catechesis, more work with the youth, more support for couples who are getting married, and more support for families who may be in crisis.
Також подібні дані, результати ми бачимо і в соціологічному опитуванні, яке проводив Український католицький університет, з яким теж більшість, я розумію, є ознайомлені. Там теж наводиться дуже невесела статистика, динаміка нашої церкви, починаючи з 1991 року, де чисельність офіційна кількість вірних Греко-католицької церкви Америки обчислилася в 158 тисяч, і станом на 2017 рік, тобто через 27 років, чисельність скоротилася, на жаль, більше, ніж в 3 рази, тобто стала 48 тисяч. Зрозуміла річ, що була така тенденція, багато новоприбулих людей не вписувалися в парафію, це могло бути вплинути, але ми повинні бути свідомі того, що на цей період, початку 90-х, з 1991 року, коли розпад Радянського Союзу, І по 2000 роки був масовий приплив емігрантів так званої четвертої хвилі, якої я є представником. І як і я, і багато моїх друзів були вписані, є членами парафії. Тобто тут не можна, на мою думку, говорити про те, що показником чи результатом такої невтішної ситуації є те, що люди не вписалися в парафію. Радше все-таки велика частина вірних покинули нашу церкву, і це є в опитуванні, починаючи з сторінки 45-ї, є детальний аналіз причин, чому це так сталося. Найбільшим показником було те, що молоді люди, переважно, які їхали студенти в університети, міняли місце проживання чи одружувалися, покидали церкву. І однією з найбільших причин, чому вони це робили, це був примус з боку батьків, або не хотіли батьків цим ображати. Тобто це був такий штучне притримання молодих людей в церкві.
So results showed, and I'm going to kind of go backwards from what Ihor said. It was in many cases you had younger people falling away from the church. A lot of it was kind of an artificial keeping people in the church. They didn't want to younger people staying in the church because they didn't want to offend their parents. We had and what our laity commission found was we really cannot blame the reduction in numbers of our parishioners on the fact that people do not actually become formal members of a parish. The phenomenon that people just come to church without becoming formal members. Our laity commission is taking the position that really we cannot put all the blame on the reduction in our numbers on that.
В результаті, щоб скоротити, не забирати багато часу, і я постараюся підрезюмувати, на мою думку, і соціологічне опитування з боку Українського католицького університету, і те опитування, яке ми намагалися зробити, свідчить приблизно про ту саму картину. Ми повинні більше приділити уваги вихованні наших вірних, зокрема молоді. Зокрема, молоді – це є дуже важливе питання. Зараз є оманлива така заспокійлива картина для нас, що наші храми переповнені. Але, друзі, це не є заслуга ні нас, мирян, ні, даруйте, духовенства, що наші церкви є зараз переповнені. Вони переважно в великих містах переповнені. Це є заслуга диктатора Путіна. Будьмо щирі. Він пригнав, його злочини, його злодіяння пригнали чергову хвилю емігрантів, біженців. Храми не будуть завжди такі повні, як зараз. Досвід показує, що все закінчиться так, як це було із другої хвилі еміграції, а також із третьої хвилі еміграції, яка була дуже жертовна, вважаю, більше, ніж ми, більше свідома, тому що збудувала все це, чим ми зараз користуємося. Але незважаючи на їхню свідому позицію, на їхню тверду віру, їхні діти в більшості своїй, очевидно, не всі, але в більшості своїй покинули церкву в першому поколінні. Я маю 4 дітей, спостерігаючи за ними, за дітьми своїх друзів, я боюся, що ми повторимо цей приклад. Ми його вже повторюємо.
So we have a situation where, at least in the bigger cities, our churches are still rather full, but we should but the laity commission is suggesting we need to take a long, hard look at this, because a lot of what has gone on, at least in the last 2 years, is thanks to Mr. Putin and his full-scale invasion of Ukraine. But that the laity commission is suggesting is not a lasting formula for keeping the laity coming to church. The other, and then the other piece of it was, we have younger generations of the descendants of the third wave, the political post-World War II wave, that were very generous, that built quite a bit when it came to our churches, but their descendants, their children and their grandchildren have pretty much wholesale left the church and are no longer active or coming or attending.
Вертаючись до нашого соціологічного опитування, другим таким найбільш поширенішим запитанням, побажанням було робити більше просвіти, більше давати людям знань стосовно нашого східного обряду, стосовно літургії і навіть такі прості речі, як поводитися в храмі. В 2018
another part of the laity commission's work showed that there needed to be more education as to the liturgy itself, and even just straight up simple things as to how one should behave while in.
В 2018 році, на протязі цілого року, наша комісія з цією метою розробляла так званий правильник поведінки християнина у храмі. На пропозицію нашого владики він був розроблений у двох варіантах: у розширеному варіанті і у скороченому. За основу було взято багато матеріалів, зокрема подібний правильник, який розроблявся колись тоді ще єпископом митрополитом Василем Семенюком, теперішнім митрополитом, тодішнім єпископом Тернопільсько-Зборівської єпархії, а також дуже багато інших джерел і документів, які розроблялися нашими отцями в Україні.
So one of the projects that our laity commission undertook was a handbook, if you will, of how people should behave in church. There was a longer version and a shorter version, and some of the sources that they used were from Ukraine, especially the Ternopil eparchy. So they were drawing upon resources that were being developed in Ukraine.
Ми, звичайно, адаптовували ці матеріали до своїх місцевих потреб, оскільки ми розуміємо, що в кожній нашій церкві є представники різних територіальних громад з України, тобто різних звичаїв, які в Україні, і вони дуже різняться, там є хаос, і ми намагалися це все уніфікувати, аби впорядкувати нашу літургію тут в храмі, тому що люди дуже по-різному поводяться. І під час прийняття святих таїнств, і коли робити різні колінопреклонення, коли хреститися, тому подібні речі, тому що люди роблять з цього хаос. Тут наклалося багато католицьких впливів, латинських впливів і різних місцевих звичаїв, і з цим потрібно було, і на сьогодні, як виявляється, це є дуже потрібні речі. Багато вносилося правок на протязі року, долучалися наші отці, також запрошувалися викладачі Українського католицького університету. І цей проект був закінчений в 2019 році, підписаний нашим владикою, але нам є дуже прикро, що він по сьогодні не вийшов з життя, тобто він ніде не надрукований. Я принагідно звертаюся до всіх, хто має відношення до того, якщо нас слухає владика, або, можливо, є представники офісу, канцелярії єпархіальної, просимо, аби ця праця не пропала, тому що зараз це особливо кидається в вічі, коли знову з черговою хвилею емігрантів в нашому храмі просто хаос відбувається.
So the laity commission found that there was a bit of chaos going on in our churches during the liturgy. You have people coming from various parts of Ukraine and coming during different times. There were Latinizations that have crept in. People don't know when to kneel, when to cross themselves, how to receive the holy gifts. So they, much like our liturgical commission is trying to harmonize what is going on in our parishes, the laity commission is doing this from the standpoint of, hey, teaching the laity how to, how we would our parishioners and those who come to our services to participate in our liturgical services. Окей, пане Ігоре, маємо ще 5 хвилин, то будь ласка.
Я буду закінчувати. І щоб якось скрасти ту картину, розкажу трохи позитивних речей, які на сьогоднішній день є, які намагаються десь ці проблемні питання вирішити. Зокрема, щодо потреб підготування подружніх пар і, зокрема, вирішення сімейних проблем, в парафії, до якої я зараз належу, непорочному зачаття в Палатайм, вже 2 рази організовувалися курси щодо наук для сімейних подружніх пар, так званий marriage accounting. Колись це проводив доктор Маркус, а пізніше, через 2-3 роки, але це було перед ковідом, робив це мирянин Михайло Дорожкевич. Дуже вдало, він дуже збагав багато цікавих матеріалів. Зокрема, ми його запрошували на одну із наших зустрічей духовні посиденьки. На той час в нас було біля 20 пар, напевно, подружніх, і це включало з собою лекції, дискусії, ділення в малих групах, там різні культурні відпочинкові моменти. І думаю, що в такому плані варто би продовжувати це робити на інших парафіях.
So something, to kind of leave off with something positive. One program that was very successful in the northwest suburbs of Chicago here was to have a marriage counseling. I think you all got that piece. A marriage counseling session where couples would come in and have a kind of joint session, a spiritual session as to what it means to be married in our tradition and what we are called to as married couples, and the best attendance was something like 20 couples, so 40 people showed up. So that seemed to be successful, and the Laity Commission is looking into sharing information about that and seeing if something like that can be done at other parishes.
Також вже декілька років підряд діє біблійна група, де кожної суботи збираються молоді люди після літургії і вивчають Святе Письмо за методом лекції Дівіна. Також діє молодіжна спільнота Світло Марії і спільнота Скеля, яка теж займається катехізацією для різних вікових груп. Знаю, що подібні речі є в інших парафіях, і їх потрібно якось більше розвивати і активізувати, бо направду це є такі невеличкі оази, осередки духовного життя, які волею-неволею каталізують позитивні процеси в наших громадах.
So again, we have tiny, in many cases, we have, little gatherings. We have groups all over our eparchy. All sorts of efforts are being made: catechesis, youth, all the things that we've already talked about today. And again, we're really looking forward to all the commissions really working together to coordinate efforts and support wherever we can.
Також в рамках приготування першопричасників до першого урочистого причастя і святої сповіді в нашому храмі і також в інших храмах проводять катехізацію для батьків. Зокрема, буквально завтра в нас починається навчальний рік, і я маю честь бути долученим до того, буду читати катехізацію батькам, але знаю, що подібний проект проводиться в інших парафіях, зокрема в парафії Йосипа. Тобто використовувати час, коли з дітьми займаються виховники по відповідній програмі, аби батьків зайняти, і вони не гаяли, не тратили свій час, оскільки все рівно мусять чекати на своїх дітей. Окремо для дорослих батьків проводяться заняття по катехізації.
Okay, so the Laity Commission found something very similar to what we in the Catechesis Commission found, that there are good, that pretty much across the board we have good preparation for First Holy Confession. with Holy Communion after that. But the one idea here is that now that the parents are bringing their children for these courses, for this preparation, there should be programs for the parents themselves. Okay, пане Ігоре,
Отже,
будь ласка, прошу.
завершуючи
Кінчайте.
свою доповідь, так, я хочу ще раз звернутися, підсумувати, що, на мою думку, ми повинні леву частку своєї уваги і зусиль звернути на нашу молодь. І в рамках цього я хочу звернутися до всіх і запросити до участі у нашій всеамериканській молодіжній прощі. Це міжєпархіальний захід, направду вже всеамериканський, який кожного року ми проводимо на базі парафії Покрова в Пармі. Це в околицях Клівленда. Дуже насичена програма. Цього року ми її вже розширюємо до 4 днів. Слідкуйте за оголошеннями, вони будуть в соцмережах, зокрема на нашій сторінці. Так що щиро прошу всіх до участі і навіть до оргкомітету, який вже працює 2-й місяць, до наступної прощі. До зустрічі, дуже дякую за увагу і перепрошую за...
To leave on a very positive note, and again, in a way to get, which we all agree, to get the youth, to get older high school and college age students involved is probably the most difficult thing. And what is going on right now and several years running is the All-American Youth Youth Conference. And it is being held for next year in June, mid-June. It will be held for the 2nd year in a row at the Pokrova Parish in Parma, Ohio. That's only a 5-hour drive from Chicago. It's even shorter from Detroit. So there you go. And this is done at the metropolitan level. All the eparchies in the United States, and I think Канада також бере участь, правда, пане Ігор?
Маємо надію, що долучаться. Вже дуже маємо поважне зацікавлення, але поки що на офіційному рівні цього не було.
So Canada is invited as well. So that is a very sincere invitation from our own laity commission.
Я хочу наголосити, що ця програма дуже розширена. Починає основний акцент – це духовно, очевидно, реколекції, науки, але також спортивні змагання, відпочинкові аспекти. І в цьому цей захід росте. Дякувати Богу, цього року ми мали біля 600 учасників. Так підрахував владика Богдан. 600 учасників цього року було.
This year, under the leadership of Bishop Bogdan in Parma, 600 participants, and the program is very full. But it includes not only spiritual exercises, but also some sports and games and fun. And it's a really nice mix. So again, a sincere invitation from our laity commission. Okay, so дякую. So as we did last time, this will be the time for parishes to have brief discussions among themselves. And we'll make this short. It is 1:19 Chicago time right now. Why don't we give everybody 25 minutes to half an hour to discuss what you've heard and what you would like to see from the eparchy. Questions, comments, anything that you would like to see, any reactions that you have to the 4 presentations that we heard today. We can do this in 2 ways. Either parishes can raise their hand electronically, like so. You can either raise your hand if you look at reactions, your reaction button at the bottom of the screen. You can raise your hand and then lower your hand, or if anybody feels, excuse me, sorry. Or if anybody wishes to use the chat function. Sorry. If anybody wishes to use the chat function and put in a question to any one of us speakers today, you can do that as well. So half an hour, if everyone would please, let's gather back at 10 before the hour, and we're going to try and keep this to not as long as last time. So, Nativity BBM is asking, what are we doing? This is the time for parishes to discuss among themselves the presentations that they saw and any questions or comments that they would like to pose to our speakers. Okay? Просимо всі парафії зараз можете між собою обговорити те, що ви чули сьогодні, і ваші питання або ваші бажання щодо того, що було сьогодні представлено. Okay? So we're all coming back in 30 minutes, if that's okay.
Я зараз роблю breakout room, і кожен лідер чи священик вибирає кімнату і запрошує своїх парафіян, друзів, цю кімнату на обговорення.
Okay, so Father Roman is creating breakout rooms for all the parishes who need them, and everybody can, for those of parishes who were not able to gather in a single physical space, you'll be able to confer amongst yourselves in your breakout rooms. So, any questions for now? Okay, hearing none, we'll see everybody in about 30 minutes. Дякую.
Cover over
Okay, so it is 1:51 Chicago time. St. Constantine's Parish in Minneapolis has asked to speak because Vladeka has just arrived there or is arriving there, and they will be having Vespers shortly. So, Pani Christiu, will you be speaking on behalf of your parish?
Tak. Yep.
Proszę дуже.
I'm sure there's people who can speak better than me, but not by choice, but this is by necessity because it's a big deal for our parish to have the bishop come, and 2 ordinations, subdeacon for Yuri and deacon for Nick Modelski.
Axios.
That's right. It's very exciting. Of course, I'm in charge of the luncheon. That's stressful too. Okay, what we discussed briefly, because we're not together in the same room because of the bishop coming, we had to do all our things. We were discussing how do we get children involved with that 10-minute homily, because we've had different ideas. We brought this up before with the priest, because we do have a lot of children. At St. Nicholas, it's 60, and at school, it's 40 kids. So we do have a lot of children, but they come and go. They come late, families, and I'm not blaming them. I was a parent, I get it. But we were talking, how can the children participate with the homily? So we had several ideas that we've talked with the priest about, and that was that, how about after the gospel, the kids are escorted out to have a homily by someone who knows how to do this, and talk to kids for 10 minutes while the priest talks to the adults. Well, that didn't go well. So then we had, how about having a whole different children's liturgy idea, where we first have the main choir singing for 9:30 to 11, and then 11 children in liturgy. That doesn't work well because we're dividing our church services again more, so we want to unite them instead of separating. So my suggestion was, when we talked about during gospel, the kids come up and have a fake candle or something, and they're listening to the gospel, then they sit in front of the priest. But that doesn't work well because they get antsy, the kids, and they're in front. So we're still working on it, is the moral of the story, what we came up with. So we're still working on that. But the other issues people brought up, it's exactly what we have. Good points about our church. We have women's clubs. We have men's club the priest started. But we don't have youth, the college, high school kids as much. But thank you for all the presentations. As I say, we relate to everything that was there. So, Yakui, that's all I have to offer for now. Was that satisfactory?
Absolutely, not a problem. And
Yeah.
and since you brought up the question of the children's homilies, I see Father Deacon Justin Coyle is with us. I don't know, Justin, if you're able to jump in, but I understand you were one of the ones who did the children's homily. So, Father Deacon Justin, can you comment on that very quickly? Okay, so it doesn't seem that he's with us for the moment. So we'll come back to that.
I
have a comment.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Prussia.
I was going to say, we said, how about if somebody, laity perhaps, has a coloring sheet the kids can do at home, not in church, but based on that gospel reading or a Bible story or a miracle, whatever. That'll keep them interested, at least what they're talking, and maybe 1 or 2 lines in English or Ukrainian or both or something. So,
and that kind of goes to what we in the Catechesis Commission found was, number one, you need to give the kids something to do. You can't just talk at them, number one. And number 2, homework. Father Greg, this came from your parish in Fresno, where there is a self-directed catechesis where children are given homework and they get to do it during the week. The parents learn, and then they bring it back to you. So maybe Father Greg, you can jump in here and describe a little bit of what you do.
Yes, thanks very much. What we do is we're using the God With Us series here, and we have a lot of young children here, but we're not a huge parish, so we've got about maybe 50 people on a Sunday or less, of which half are children, but we don't have enough children to actually constitute separate catechism classes. So what we do is we give the God With Us series to all of the children that's appropriate for their grade. And then what I do is I get the parents to go through it and make sure they do their homework. And the parents then learn alongside with the children, because let's face it, you know, even as parents, we can learn a lot of things from that. And then I meet with them on the first Sunday of the month to make sure things are done. And they can ask me questions out of that, and I'll sometimes ask them, so tell me what you learned. And that's kind of the pedagogy we're using here, and it's working so far. It would be perfect if we could actually run classroom catechism classes, but when you're a smaller growing parish like us, this has been a good solution for us so far.
That is a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank
they
you,
can
Father
share
Greg. And I think even in our bigger parishes in Detroit or Chicago, where you have vibrant Ukrainian communities and you're competing for people's time, that to me was just a wonderful idea. Send the parents and kids home with something.
Yeah.
And this way the parents are integrated into the children's learning. They journey with the kids, and they themselves absorb a lot, because as I say, I mean, we've all done our catechism when we were kids, and we've all forgotten our catechism from what we did as kids, and this kind of renews it. Plus, many people like myself, I was trained up on the Baltimore Roman Catholic catechism as a child, and that's not proper to our spirituality anyway. So with the God With Us series, the new resource that we have, it enables us to actually be authentically learning the Ukrainian Catholic dogma and teachings of the faith.
I shall look into that. Thank you. Дякую всім.
Okay, so дякую, Panie Christiu, дякую, Отче Greg, for your comments. I see Father Andrei, Pani Hala, our mini micro parish in Flagstaff has their hand raised, so proszę.
So I just wanted to say my experience with I've been a catechist for 46 years. This is how old I am now, very old. But in our experience, having a catechist, take the children, have them hold candles at Divine Liturgy at the reading of the gospel, and then the catechist leads them out of church to the hall or a different room. And there are, for 15-20 minutes, class based either on gospel readings or the whole program or the God With Us series. We had multiple age levels, and we would have hands-on activities and songs and music and things. And then they are occupied during the sermon. The parents have a breather for 15-20 minutes during the sermon, and they're able to listen to the sermon. And then we come back in at the latest for Me Cherubim, which is the cherubic hymn. So that's a suggestion if there's somebody in the parish willing to lead something like that, where you take the kids out and bring them back in. And we also then, during that time, reviewed how to behave in church. And so I would be sort of the one to help prompt them to behave appropriately in church. That's just a suggestion.
And then there were occasions when we would take the children and I would actually sit them down, not in the pews, but on the floor in front by the tetrapod, and I would speak to the children for a few minutes and then have them go with the catechist further, and I would speak to the parents. And the result was that the parents often would say, wow, that was very helpful. When you were speaking to the children, we finally understood this or that doctrine of our church because you made it simple.
Simple, yeah, yeah.
Pani Halina, happy birthday.
Дуже дякую. It's a big one. Дякую з Богом.
We'll sing No Hayalita at the end. But yeah, well, and Otche Andrea, one more reason why we shouldn't have pews in our churches, right? But, but we won't go there. I think that we'll leave that to our liturgical commission, but that may be too big a change for some of our parishioners. Okay, St.
But
Demetrius.
if I
Oh,
might
sorry,
just
sorry,
add
sorry.
that to Diakon, if I might add, when we say we shouldn't have pews, that doesn't mean that we should not have seating. Our tradition is to have around the sides of the church, on the side walls, to have benches there, so that those who need to sit can sit. Doesn't mean that there's no seating are a problem.
Okay, well, okay, yeah. So дякую очень. That's exactly that's the point. All right, so just to go next on my screen, Father Deacon Tony from St. Demetrius in North Dakota has his hand raised. So, Ocha Diakona, please.
Thank you, Father Deacon Ross. So, St. Demetrius thanks everyone for the great, from the heads of the commissions, for the great presentations. They reflect our experience largely. Adult catechesis is a special challenge, and there's what you have prepared for with Padlet is excellent. We're going to make great use of that. And we also wanted to let you know that we've recorded 3 sessions. We have 3 hours of content on an Early Fathers of the Church series, which will be all public domain and available to be posted. And we're continuing to add to that library monthly. We haven't posted the library online yet. We still have some video editing, but that's in the queue. That's coming as well. And we're really, really excited for what you're doing there. Thank you.
So thank you, Father Deacon Tony. And yeah, and again, the thought behind Padlet is when one of us at one of our parishes develops something. I, for example, have developed in Ukrainian for now a series on the liturgical year, and that will be posted to Padlet. So anytime anybody in the parishes really has something that they are willing to share, please, by all means, send it to us. We will post it. We will put it in the right category, and we will make it accessible. The main thing is to do exactly what we're doing today, is to share. So thank you, Father Deacon Tony. Father Deacon Justin has rejoined us. There was a question, Father Deacon, about how you made your children's homilies work. So could you comment on that quickly before we move on?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot to add that Pani Charovsky didn't describe already. I found that finding ways for the children to be active was important. We have a lot of younger kids in our parish, and sitting them down for another homily just wasn't going to work. And so what I often did was keep it very short, just the duration of Father's homily, but begin with some stretching, right? The kind of like gym class or something. Begin with some stretching, and then I would give them little icons to color for whatever the feast day was. And then as I was reading them the story of the saint or the gospel reading, I would ask them to identify in the icon different parts of the story. So when we got to this or that part of the story, I'd say find that in the icon and whatever. So and they would rush to find it and then show me. So anything that can get kids sort of active. Now with older kids, they could listen to a longer sort of lesson or something like that. But a lot of our kids are quite young, and so I found that things like that, being silly, doing some stretching, actively engaging them in the lesson really helped. But otherwise, I don't have a whole lot to add.
Okay, thank you, Father Deacon. Yeah, the idea of getting some movement going, and that's one of the reasons why having deacons is important as well, because there's more liturgical movement. So we'll put in a plug for ourselves, won't we? Okay, so to quickly go between those who have their hands raised and the chat. We have here in the chat from St. Joseph's in Warren, Michigan, about the new evangelization, Pan Orest. is there anything you'd like to add to your chat or elaborate on anything that you just wrote here?
I have nothing really to elaborate. I just know that there's definitely, a hunger even with our own parish. A lot of people visiting some of the Roman Catholic parishes who have been really kind of have a new vigor. So I just know from my own personal story, I used to visit a parish 10 years ago on a Sunday night, couldn't get to Mass on a Sunday morning, went there on Sunday evenings, and it was just amazing speakers. And I realized they had such big programs during the course of the week, a very large parish, a lot of resources. And it changed me. And the pastor there had told me, whatever you learn here, take it back to your own parish and start something. And because of that, I've had a faith formation class every Tuesday night for the past 10 years. But it's hard to do. And so part of it is there's a lot of good resources, and just how do we get our own people more involved? We know the parish priest can't do everything. We have to get the laity more involved. And again, it's just re-evangelizing the parish to better understand the liturgy, our beautiful liturgy, which doesn't come close to matching what Roman Catholic liturgy is. We don't value it enough. We need to promote it more.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I mean, every rite has its beauty, every rite has its richness, and we certainly have our own. So thank you for sharing. Mr. Zachary Wachuk, you have your hand raised. Please remind us what parish you represent.
Yes,
please go ahead.
I'm Zachary Wojcik from St. Andrew the Apostle Parish in Sacramento, California. And we have the others online as well from our parish. We had a discussion during the breakout, and one of the things that we discussed was, first of all, thank you for putting the Sobor together. This is only the second one. We have one more to go. It's been very informative. It brings as many questions as it does answers, and I think that was probably the intent. But we have limited participants here in these Sobors. And one of the most important things is to be able to share the information that we're getting from these meetings and these sessions with our parishioners throughout the eparchy. And I think that there's an issue of communication that needs to be addressed by the eparchy. And I'm sure this is one step towards that, but outreach to all of the parishes in the eparchy, and more importantly, all the parishioners. So the way that's done is eparchy to parish and pastor then makes that available. And the questions that I had were are we going to have all of these sessions that we heard today and previously posted online that we could access and then share with parishioners?
I do not believe there is any objection to that. We can certainly make these sessions available along with all the materials. Yes.
I thought the history that was presented, the very first presentation, was very informative. The Eparchial Liturgical Commission and the Catechetical Commissions, all these commissions are contributing to something that's really important, and it will help each of the parishes address their needs in particular. And one of the other questions I had was that came up in our session was in response to the Catechetical Commission, why you mentioned that only 5 parishes responded. I find that peculiar. Why did only 5 parishes respond?
I'm sure the reasons are various, but a questionnaire with, I believe, 5 or 6 questions went out, and it went out twice, requesting to all of the pastors, asking for responses. And again, we received out of our however many parishes we have, 20-something, 30-something parishes, 5 responded. So that I can't answer
okay.
Pastors chose not to respond, some of them, but we did get some So we got the responses, and the ones that we did get were very good.
Final point, and you could go on and talk to the other folks here, is my key message to this group is, and to the eparchy in particular, is the way we're going to make progress is by improved communication, excellent communication, transparency, and making sure that we're all part of the community of Christ going forward. And we have to have a consolidation and a kind of a feeling of belonging, that we're all part of the eparchy, and the eparchy is part of the greater Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church throughout the world. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a comment in the chat from Father Deacon Paul Rullo about the liturgical pew books. Paul, do you want to jump in real quick and share with everybody your thoughts?
Oh, it just seems to me that I've been, we're in a mix of Ukrainians who have been here for 10, 15 years, also new Ukrainians, but also new only English speakers who are interested in the Eastern Church. And then, of course, we have the question about high school kids and retaining college-age students. And it's just that over a couple of years, I've gotten very used to the Cyrillic. But I do recall that a few years ago when, full pages of Cyrillic are there, and that's all you have available, and all of the people who might be visiting take that. That it seems to me that introduces just a little bit of an intimidation factor culturally. One can sing in Cyrillic and all that, but if they just have the English and the transliteration, I think we might be a little bit ahead there. And that was about all I wanted to add on that.
Thank you. Yeah, and there was a question here within my own parish about that there are already books in other eparchies. For example, the Metropolia, the Archeparchy of Philadelphia already has a bilingual book. So I guess the question to the liturgical commission is, yeah, what are we doing to make our to make the pew book, if you will, more welcoming, and what are your plans there?
Yeah, there'll be, like we said, there'll be the phonetics from Ukrainian. There'll be both languages, and also there'll be explanations of certain parts of the liturgy, certain words that people might not be familiar with. So it's going to be more interactive rather than just simply throwing a text in front of people's faces. It'll be more, especially for people coming in who are experiencing the liturgy the first time. They'll understand some parts of liturgy a little bit more because there'll be an explanation in the margins. So that's what's gonna make our book unique. As you all say, more welcoming.
Yeah, that's again, it's an explanation to tell people what's going on in addition to the text is the most important, and we think you have that. It seems like you all have that very well in hand. So, okay, so thank you, Paul, for your comment. St. Michael Dearborn has their hand raised. Please go ahead.
Okay, press.
So for some reason, St. Michael Dearborn, we can't hear you.
Now?
Ah, there we go. There you are.
So the work of these commissions is important, and I think, as was brought up during one of the discussions, most of the people on the commission were in the Chicago area. How can the rest of the eparchy participate on some of these commissions?
Interestingly enough, Dubrodika Helena from Flagstaff said the same thing. We would like to see the eparchial commissions to be a little less Chicago-centric. So I'll speak for my own commission. Our commission right now, the 4 members are myself from Chicago. There is one other member from Chicago, but other than that, we have we have a member in Detroit and a member in Oregon. And we made a concerted effort to include others. And we will make a concerted effort as we expand our commission. Father Proto-Deacon Marcoa, I think your commission is also not, also has folks from beyond Chicago, isn't that correct?
Yes, we have a member from San Diego, and we're in the process of also adding 2 priests from different parishes outside of Chicago to the commission also, who also have a background in liturgics. So yeah, we're not really that's Chicago centric either. Actually Luke, who's from San Diego, does most of the work for the weekly propers. So we try to expand that. So, but I could see where you're coming from when it comes to the commission of the laity and eventually the commission of the youth. So, but yeah, we're working on it. But yeah, we're for Father Deacon Rostic's commission of the catechism and our liturgical commission, we're trying to expand outside of Chicago.
Panie Ігоре, чи ви ще з нами? Пане Ігор Худик?
Так, з вами. Перепрошую.
Окей. Питання є, чи можна щось зробити, щоб ваша комісія складалася з людей не лише з Chicago? So I just repeated the question. Is there any way that the laity commission can be not so Chicago-centric?
Очевидно, ми завжди про це мріяли. І мало того, ми декілька років розсилали на всі єпархії через нашу канцелярію запрошення, аби кожна парафія по мірі можливості дала свого представника, щоб ми бодай онлайн мали такі спілкування.
Okay,
Останній раз ми проводили онлайн-зустріч з парафіями десь півроку тому, якщо я не помиляюся.
Okay, so apparently every parish did receive a communique from the laity commission. About 6 months ago, there was a meeting of the parishes led by the laity commission, but the message, I think, from the laity commission, just like from everyone else, is the same. We welcome new members. We welcome all who are interested in any of our work to join us. We have, the commissions can't get, on one hand, they can't get unwieldy. On the other hand, there's nothing preventing us from being like Congress and having subcommittees. Although we would like to be a little more functional than our current Congress. But other than that, so I think the general response is, yeah, all the commissions welcome members from and would really, our preference is to have members from various parts of our vast geographically eparchy. Okay, so
I'm sorry, Father Diakon. I'm chatting, put link to our page in Facebook and other social media. Я там в чат поставив лінк нашої комісії, як і лінк Всеамериканської прощі, і я надіюся, що там якось час зараз можуть доєднати результати нашого соцопитування. Я не можу технічно цього зробити, тому що це є в емейлах. Ага. І також правильник поведінки християнина у храмі, його розширений варіант і скорочений, як просив владика, за ним дуже питали на останній нашій зустрічі з парафіями, яку ми мали півроку тому. То прошу його якось теж долучити до того.
Okay, so all sorts of documents and all sorts of resources. Father Roman has just put in the chat. There are all sorts of documents. Please do check the social media pages of all of our commissions. At least the laity commission has Mr. Ihor is saying that there is there's an active social media presence there. So again, the general question, I think this goes to what has been said earlier: communication, and this Sobor was the beginning of that. So All right, so we have a few more hands raised. Holy Wisdom in California, please go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to emphasize again the communication from the eparchy to the parishes. I do really appreciate that the bishop called for the Sobor for us to find out what is happening. We don't feel, because we're not getting all this information, what's happening in the eparchy, we're almost feeling like that we're not part of the family. And for example, I noticed that a New Star was putting an emphasis on God with us. I've been using God with us for almost 2.5 years. I've been sending donations. I said, finally, somebody in the Byzantine traditions is presenting seminars so that we can get educated, especially those that were brought up under the Baltimore Catechism and when we were children, when our church, I always tell people, if they say, I always say, it's the Catholic Church of Holy Wisdom in the Byzantine tradition and under the eparchy of Chicago, which is a Ukrainian Catholic eparchy. I always emphasize that there's only one Catholic Church. Some people say the Roman Church. I say, no, it is the church at Rome. It's just the same thing when the church was established years ago. They say the church at Jerusalem, the church at Antioch. So I want to make sure, because if we say the Ukrainian Catholic Church, there have been many visitors to our church because of our website. And they said that the music that we all sing together is beautiful. And that's one thing that I'd like to see the eparchy put on the choir, to put the music for the upcoming tropars, including so that we can participate, practice and read the words and enjoy them. Same thing that at the Institute of Catholic Culture was doing the sermons for the they were going into the sermons and preparing you for the Sunday liturgy. So this is a lot of us, our parish is we're using a rented facility, so we don't have a meeting place, so we're depending on the internet to provide the feeding of our souls. So that's about all that I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, I think duly noted as far as communications goes. Yeah, God with Us has been around for a while, but they're really getting their act together online, and there are a lot of things going on there. And then liturgically, music, the written out music is available in both Ukrainian and in English, especially in the anthology that the Sheptytsky Institute put out. But
but it can be recorded, though. That's the thing. When you hear it, it's another thing, because it helps you understand when you're reading the music. And that has been done by the Institute of Catholic Culture. They did some of the tropars and kondaks. So I'm just saying, it's just another way to prepare us so that everybody is participating. Thank you.
Okay. So Father Proto-Deacon, another note to the liturgical commission there. And I think we do have recordings from some of our cantors already. So, but communication. So there we go. So point well taken. Okay, Assumption in St. Louis. I see Father Deacon Johan. Please go ahead.
Slava Isusu Christu. We are a small parish, and for many years we have existed primarily because we have biritual priests who serve us, and a big shout out to the Jesuit community who have done that for us. We last had a resident pastor in 2002. We have been inundated really since the late 1990s, but particularly in the last 6-7 years with new immigrants. All of the things that have been said about the diversity of attitudes, the diversity of reasons for coming to church among people, we can certainly see that here. It's interesting for us we have a fairly close relationship. This may be a little atypical with the Ruthenian community, the Ruthenian jurisdiction parish here in St. Louis, for many complicated historical reasons. The biritual priests who serve us usually also serve the Byzantine mission parish here in St. Louis. They are, of course, a community for whom the focus is primarily on their Byzantine tradition. In other words, the ethnic component is really kind of not there, which in some ways is interesting. I occasionally serve with them as a deacon. It's a little bit from a Ukrainian perspective missing what we're used to in our own parish community, but they reach out to adults and children alike with much more of a focus on first the message of Christianity, and also paying considerable attention to what makes us as Catholics of the Eastern Rite distinctive, and what role and what attractiveness can we offer from that point of view. And I think in the end, in our small discussion, one of the participants in our discussion has a theological education from Lviv, arrived here less than a year ago, is a person who's explored and studied the theology of the home church, in other words, of the family, very, very extensively in his own past. And there's no question that in the end, you have to try to do everything, obviously, and it's very hard, but the focus should be on catechizing adults and developing commitment to the church and commitment to our Lord on the part of grown-ups. Children do benefit from many things they experience at church without a question, but in the end, the most important teachers for children and for the future in terms of the faith, in terms of the practice of the faith, in terms of family prayer, is really the family and the church of the home. And where that is not there, I mean, we had 12 or 13 children being catechized this spring for first confession and first solemn Holy Communion. Only a very small percentage of those children have even been back to church since they made their first confession and received their communion. The ones that have come back are the ones whose parents, whose grandparents, in some cases, are very involved in the church and committed to being involved in the church. And the other children I'll probably next time see at Nativity, and then of course Theophany. Without that, there will be no church, and without that, even a patriotic or some sort of national identity, which you can see simply from the decor, none of which I put up here, but is here on the part of the parishioners. But many of those people who are very active in that very sense are very infrequent visitors to the church. And so their children most likely will be in that category of those who wander away. So our going forward and trying to think about how we can become improve what we do. The focus, as always, really has to be on engagement of adults, teaching and catechesis of adults, giving adults roles to fulfill in the parish community, because those adults will certainly be those who teach their children and form them in the most important of all Christian communities, which is each individual family. That's what we wanted to contribute to the discussion. Slava Isusu Christu.
Slava Navike. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Father Deacon. Indeed, the home church is where it all starts, right? And Father Pavlopopov, who from our parish in the Dallas area, has argued, or at least suggested, that when you catechize the adults, they will pass that on to their children. So something to keep in mind. Not, but like you say, Archdiakone, we have to do everything, right? Okay, so we Holy Wisdom Mission have their hands raised. So please go ahead.
Aloha. So I'd like to just pile on to two issues, add a third, and make one last comment. So it is important for us out here, especially we have a lot of Westerners and others that come from the mainland, that pile on to the transliteration of the Divine Liturgy, but then also other services like Vespers, Matins, and then Holy Week services. That would be very important to us. Additionally, it was brought up about short catechism lessons for adult and children. Again, lessons on that as a resource would be very helpful. God with Us is a great resource for some of that, catechism and the Eastern theology and thought. But going back to the one issue is the chant. It's generally Byzantine Ruthenian, and it doesn't reflect the chant used in UGCC. And then lastly, the new thing I would like to bring up is clergy counseling support. Not all our clergy have experience in counseling in everyday lives, especially with issues with marriage, children conflict with parents, the unemployed, the unhomed, and addiction issues, because these issues impact our community members and their ability or willingness to participate within our community. So they need help, at least in approaches and methods, and awareness of support and measures in their local community. That's what we have.
Thank you very much. Perhaps one of our fathers can comment on the continuing education that we've just started for our clergy. Would anyone like to jump in on that? Okay, so I will quickly say the topic of continuing education for clergy has been brought up on several levels. The Sheptytsky Institute in Canada has indicated that they are working on continuing ed, but we within the eparchy have just started that as well. We started with some liturgics last month, but we will be having guest speakers going forward. So so that I hope is at least a partial response to your question, and certainly duly noted that, yeah, helping people in crisis is definitely something that would help. And then yeah, and then
Father Deacon, we've had continuing education for the clergy over the last couple of years. So I know that you just were ordained more recently, but we've gone through a number of topics over the last couple of years. So we're aware of that, and there is an effort, and it's continuing, and it's going to blossom, I think.
And it's been excellent. It's been excellent.
Okay, so thank you, fathers. Yeah. So and then the other point was about again, the music and the tones, and so I think that message has come through loud and clear, that parishes are asking for support in liturgical music. So there are definitely those among us who know what they're doing in that regard. So we're happy to help. Pokrova in Houston, Reader Stevie, we see you. Please go ahead.
Yes. So my parish is in kind of a tough spot compared to some of the other parishes within the eparchy, because we have one parish for a very big area, over 10,000 square miles. Is the Houston metropolitan area, and we've got parishioners all over the metropolitan area that belong to our parish. So I have two questions. One, how does the Catechetical Commission have any tips or resources for trying to get at all of your parishioners, like within a giant area, like that, where we're the territorial parish for everyone in that range, and even a little bit outside that. Heck, the closest Ukrainian Catholic parish to us is in Dallas. And two, does the eparchy really have any resources on, like, say, having apostolates, say, at any of our universities, since you mentioned that the lost sheep are kind of the high school and university students. I know in the Ruthenian end that they've got some apostolates, say, like at Penn State and other places around Pennsylvania for the Ruthenian faithful. So do we have anything at any universities here within our eparchy for our faithful? In my case, I've had I have friends in College Station who have said it would be nice to have a Byzantine Catholic community there, whatever ethnicity, but they don't know if there's really any, if there's much appetite for it. But I think, just from what I've seen back home in West Virginia with West Virginia University and the outreach there from the Byzantines there, I think that we're not tapping into all the sources there to try to educate our college faithful and to really teach them about our Eastern ways, because it seems to me that that duty is primarily taken by the Latin Catholics. Am I the only one thinking this?
This is Father Deacon Tony in North Dakota, and I can contribute a couple pieces of data. I know that at Wyoming Catholic College, Father David Anderson has an active apostolate down there. And I was just speaking to Deacon Philip Gilbert this week, and they have a outreach on the local campus at Benedictine College there.
So there you go. I mean, and again, it seems to come down to communication. That I think we kind of sort of know of what Father David and Father Deacon Philip are doing, but not really. As far as apostolates at individual universities, that's the difficulty there is that it's just a very fluid situation. Students come, students go. But if you have a critical mass and somebody would like to would like support, I can say from the standpoint of the Catechetical Commission, communication is a two-way street. Ask and it shall be given to you. But points well taken, Reader Steve. I mean, there are resources, there are structures within the Roman Church. sorry, I know we're not supposed to use that term, but our Roman Catholic brothers and sisters, they have a well thought out strategy for campus ministry, and we probably on a micro level need to do something different, or at least come up with something that works for us. So we are at the beginnings of that, and we do welcome the feedback. So thank you there. Father Marty in North Dakota, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we could relate to the presentations, appreciated that, and we're excited about the developing resources that are coming our way. There were a couple of things that we gleaned from the presentations that we thought in particular would invigorate and connect and deepen and serve the needs of our parishioners. The idea of a fellowship or sessions among married couples, especially our young married couples, small group fellowships, that having meals after the liturgies. And then also the idea that church doesn't stop on is not only on Sunday, but resources for the domestic church. And some of our parishioners have found some information for their children in the God with Us series that's helped that. And yeah, and if you want me to just make a comment on also the continuing education for clergy, I have really appreciated that. It's been really good. We've had great teachers and presentations, and it's been rather diverse. I mean, we've covered everything from how to work with the youth, how to work with parish advisory councils, to helping with addictions, to development and formation and teaching and prepping for the mysteries, as well as now we've had one session on the liturgy, and it's all been good, and that's just to give you a sampling. But I really appreciate the ongoing education.
Okay. Thank you, Father Marty. And it seems like we are really developing the same themes. We see the same needs, we see the same challenges, but the fact that lines of communication are starting to open up seems to be the key. So thank you, Father Marty, very much. Pan Volodymyr in St. John's, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Good communication comes with good organization. And we were joking earlier that you can't mention the Roman Catholic counterparts, but our Roman Catholics are very organized, and that is a real strength of theirs. They're lucky enough to have a missal every Sunday that has everything in it. Now, we don't have the resources for that, but I want to talk about organization for a different thing. Every parish in our eparchy does not have a pastoral council, even though canon law requires it. Parishes have problems, and these problems can be resolved by having pastoral councils. Now, some of you might be thinking, but I have one. My question is, do you? Because a pastoral council is not a parish council. There are two different things. According to, I don't know if you're familiar with this document. This is the Pastoral Guide. It was made many years ago. And in it, it says that the task of the pastoral council is to assist the pastor with their advice and practical cooperation in matters pertinent to the pastoral world. So if your parish council is talking about finances, then you're doing it wrong. If your parish council is talking about how many pierogies to make, then you're doing it wrong. Every parish, and I like to remind you that canon law requires it, every parish should have an established pastoral council that advises the pastor, and the president of which should be the pastor. And I think this will strengthen each parish individually. This is something that has not been addressed so far, but we keep talking about problems and how do we do this and how do we do that. a well-chosen and organized pastoral council can solve that. And I just wanted to put that on the map. The second issue I wanted to bring up is the issue of cantoring. There is a great shortage of cantors. In a lot of parishes, if the cantor calls in sick, the liturgy is a train wreck. I wonder if there could be somebody like a traveling person who can go from parish to parish and do workshops and just train people on the 8 tones, give them a little bit of confidence in their singing. And finally, I'd like to conclude with a question, and the question is about those liturgical books that are going to be coming out. I'm wondering, do we have a timeline for that? I know that one of the holdups is that the Ukrainian translation itself is going to be changed, and I'm wondering if we're just waiting on that. Can we get some kind of, I mean, is it going to be in a year, in 6 months? And those are my comments. Thank you.
Father Proto-Deacon Markov, would you like to tackle the second comment in the question?
Yes, it's about the books will be available. Please repeat that question.
The question
is, when are they going to be completed? Because I am very interested in getting my hands on that, and I've been waiting for something like this for years. It's a long time coming, and we're very grateful.
Yes, we're working on it, and we already have a prototype. So hopefully by Pascha or the Lenten season, we should have something ready.
Okay, and then there was a question about perhaps a traveling roadshow or traveling workshops for the tones from going from parish to parish.
Well,
maybe we could do something via Zoom to start and gauge interest, but that was
there are certain
reasons. Our commission, we're actually working on warnings of different services. We already did this. Yeah, maybe the Mission Institute, maybe we open up a workshop just for cancer, the students.
Yeah, so that was going to be part of my answer too. One of the aims of the Mission Institute is to train cantors. So, but there's an idea floating around to have one that is focused a little more on the just actual singing aspect of everything. Andrea, did you want to jump in here?
So, first of all, every year they try to have something called a Sing Con, and there have been several sessions of this in different locations. One was in Parma, another one was in Welland, Ontario. I think there were 2 in Parma, one in Welland, Ontario, and cantors from all over gathered there to strengthen their skills. It used to be that the Sheptytsky Institute, during their summer study days, would have sessions for cantors. Now, there are things online. There is a priest in Ukraine who has a whole school of liturgical singing. His name is Ruslan Grech, and we should make that available. Does the Liturgical Commission also St. Elias Parish in Brampton, Ontario, has a whole series of recordings. I know that we have the CDs. I don't know if they are still available, but they could probably be put online, and then people could use them. But someone would need to do that. And, just as we have that Padlet for catechesis, perhaps we should have a Padlet for liturgical material, resources to respond to these needs that have been just voiced.
There's a reason, Archie, you were my favorite professor, because I was thinking the exact same thing. We will coordinate with the liturgical commission, and I think, Father Deacon Chris, we should have enough room on the Padlet to add another window, if you will, for just liturgical resources, music, singing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, I'll add that under the adult catechesis, I do have a column labeled as liturgics and I believe cantering. There's one resource on there, but we can certainly fill that up. Or if the need exists, we can create a whole nother bulletin board of just the liturgics and cantering information. I think that'd be very useful.
So we will coordinate with the liturgical commission and take care of that. And then Pan Volodymyr is asking for someone to comment on the need for every parish to have a pastoral council. I will tell you right here in our room, our delegation of Saints Volodymyr and Oiha, when you said that, Pan Volodymyr, heads were going up and down vigorously. Everybody was like, yes, absolutely, because our parish council, you talk about business for a couple hours once a month, and then when you come to the pastoral stuff, everybody's tired and there's not enough time. So I think you got some agreement here. Maybe one of the priests can jump in and comment on the need for a separate parish council and a separate pastoral council.
We had continuing education about this for the clergy, about practical aspects of that, how you go about creating a pastoral council and the difference between pastoral council and financial council. So the priests were given this, but it's never enough. We need to continue and continue and continue.
I have a suggestion for the just jumping back to the liturgical committee. If you could just do a voice memo of the troparia along with your email, it's very easy to record. One person could just sing it. That would be so helpful for those of us who may not be musically inclined. And then we could hear what it sounds like, play it back for ourselves, and practice. That's such a simple way with each email. Thank you.
Okay. So дякую.
But there was one.
Oh, sorry.
There was a question that wasn't answered, and that was, when is the new Ukrainian translation coming out? Don't hold your breath. It's going to take at least a couple of years. Okay.
Это від нас не залежить, уже від блаженнішого.
Yeah. Basically where, things happen at the synods of our bishops as far as Ukrainian translations go. Things are presented, but then all sorts of things have to happen, including the new translation being sent to Rome for approval. So we have that. Okay, so we have just a few minutes left. Reader Christopher at St. Michael's in Grand Rapids, please go ahead.
Thank you. Father Roman asked me, he couldn't make it today. He asked me to just make a few comments. I think our parish is doing very well. I feel having heard all these musical considerations, we're really, for a very small parish in Grand Rapids, we have a full choir, and we have a lot of great things going on in the parish. It's a very social parish. We usually have coffee and donuts after every liturgy or a full meal. As far as catechesis goes, Father Roman asked me a couple of years ago to do just a 5-minute catechesis after the Divine Liturgy for adults, and that's gone very well. I would say about half of the adults stay for the catechesis, and it's only 5 minutes. So I've been going through this Christ our Pascha, the Ukrainian Catechism, and I just go through about 2 pages a day, and that that's been well received. We did have a children's catechism for first confession over the summer, and that was led by another lady in the parish. One of the nice things about the Christ Our the 5-minute catechism is we also had translations. So I would, I would say a few things in English, and then it would be translated into Ukrainian. So it actually went more like 10 minutes, but still it wasn't burdensome because, we usually have like 10 minutes of announcements after the liturgy anyway. So another 5 or 10 minutes for catechism before we all go downstairs and socialize is not terribly burdensome. I think our philosophy has also been that, if we can catechize the adults, then there should be a trickle down effect with the children. I'm gonna suggest to Father Roman though, that I really like this idea of giving parents the tools that they need to catechize their children. The God with Us series. I'm familiar with that series. We used it in previous parish. So thank you for that. Liturgically, we've been doing the 3rd hour before liturgy, but I know Ladika wants us to do this abridged matins. So we're gonna try that out. It shouldn't be too much of a transition. I'm grateful for that resource too. I don't really have any questions other than I would like to hear maybe a little bit more at some point about how I think Father Greg, you were the one who mentioned that you used the God is with Us series with the parents and like when you said that you would follow up with the parents monthly, what did that look like?
I would meet with the families after liturgy, and the children would show me their books. I'd ask them questions, and I'd check in with the parents to see how things were going.
Okay, great. Yeah, simple. That's great. And then did you order the books for the parish, or did you have the parents order the books?
I had the parents order the books. That's the easiest way to do it. And for those families that needed financial assistance, we offered to reimburse them.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you very much. It's been very helpful.
Thank you, Reader Christopher. Okay, so seems like we will end, perhaps appropriately enough, with our Father Chancellor. Отче Сергію, бачу, маєте руку піднесену, будь ласка.
Слава Ісусу Христу, glory be to Jesus Christ. So we had really a nice conversation in our group of St. Nicholas Cathedral. Now I'm as an associate pastor. It's already 3 days. So we have changes here at St. Nicholas Cathedral, but I would like to say a few words. First of all, in Cathedral, during the last 5 years, we have really a lot of people, a lot of new people. And of course, we have youth organization, we have catechism for children, we have catechism for adults, we have Bible studies, we have different groups, so it's always normal. But I would say that all our small parishes of our eparchy are now, in one point of view, in much better situation. What I mean? Because you created your balance between UK style and American style, okay? As you know, for example, here in Chicago, the majority of our parishioners are people who arrived from Ukraine. In 90s, in 20 years ago, now during the war, and it's very Ukrainian, okay? But I can see okay, I'm right from Ukraine 5 years ago, but I can see that, for example, their kids, they start to speak between themselves in English. So for us, for Cathedral, now it's very important to create this balance of American and Ukrainian. Balance in prayer, balance in conversation. For example, every day we have Vespers. And as usually for this prayer Vespers, as usually are coming people from Ukraine. So we really do not have Americans who are coming. But we decided to take all Ectenias just in English. At the beginning, for people from Ukraine, it was hard. They asked, Father, why we have this English? I said, no, because we are in America, we are in US. Because your children will speak English. Of course, they will know Ukrainian, but we have to keep this really healthy balance. So it's one of the most important right now for us. Second, I just say about situation here in Chicago. Of course, we have a lot of people in Cathedral, in VNO, in St. Joseph Parish, but the majority of these people, they just are coming like 3 members. So they do not belong to the community, okay? They coming just for prayer, and they do not feel the responsibility for the parish. And I think it's really important for us to teach people, especially those who arrived last maybe 10 years or last 2 years from Ukraine, that they have to understand that they need to belong to parish community. So it's like inscription, space parafia. I think it's all that I wanted to say. And at the end, I would just like to add that a synod of our church approved like example of a guidebook for pastoral council and economic council. You know, during last years, every priest received few times this explanation and everything. Maybe we need to share all this information, not just with priests, but we need to share maybe with active parishioners. I heard about, for example, this guidebook for lay people, what to do in the church. Okay, we as a chancellor, we sent few times electronic version to all priests. So maybe it would be nice and to ask bishop, maybe we can have, for example, not just email of priests, but we can have maybe also email of active parishioners from pastoral or economic council, that we can share this information, and I hope it will help to our parishes to get this information. Okay. Thank you. I'm done.
Дякую, отче Сергію. Father, any of the fathers, any reaction to what Father Serhii just mentioned? I can say this: the language issue, I coming from heavily Ukrainian Chicago, it kind of hit me when I studied at the Sheptytsky Institute, which at the time was in Canada, that the language issue is out there, and we will definitely need to deal with it. And that's just a personal note there. Anybody else? Any reactions? Any comments to Father Serhii just now?
I just wanted to mention that the Ruthenians, who have been brought up many times, they don't have any language issues. And that is because they had their first wave, and that's it. We have had a second, third, fourth. Now there's a fifth wave. And so we keep getting people who need the Ukrainian, whereas the Ruthenians, they have long ago lost the language. And so everything is in English. You have a few parishes in Pennsylvania that still do Old Slavonic, but they don't have these issues. We do. And finding a balance, like Father said, he mentioned, is the crucial issue. Right. In Tucson, what we did was we had a liturgy in which it was, the whole liturgy was English, but the people would respond, Hospode pomilui, Podai Hospode, to be Hospode, and Amen. And anybody can learn those four. Three of those phrases have the word Hospode in them. So, and that was a way that we could bring the English-speaking parishioners to become a little bit more familiar with at least those phrases. And the Ukrainian-speaking parishioners, even though the rest of the liturgy was in English, felt like they were at, Nasha Služba Božja. They were at our liturgy because they were singing the Hospode pomilui, and it felt like being home. And so it's not ideal, but it was one way to approach that question.
Yeah, we loved Father Serhi's idea of actually sending some of those resources directly to all of our parishioners in email. That would be wonderful.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so-
you. With Bishop, maybe, so especially when we share some really special for parishes, maybe it would be nice also to share to parishioners.
Okay, so дякую отцям. Thank you to all our fathers for your comments. I do not see any more hands raised. I have one comment here from Mr. Glenn Campbell. Would appreciate a study guide for Christ our Pascha. I would encourage you, Mr. Campbell, go onto our Padlet, and there under Eastern Catholic Resources, you will find the website for Royal Doors, which is English resources for Ukrainian Greek Catholics. And there is a reading plan for Christ our Pascha. So that is a resource you may wish to consider. But we will certainly be on the lookout for additional breakdowns, because yes, reading the catechism cover to cover is kind of dry. You almost have to be looking for a specific topic to look up. So we'll agree with that. Okay, so seeing no more comments, seeing no more hands raised, Vladeko, if you are with us, would you like to make some closing comments?
Yes, I am here with you. Thank you very much for different kind of thought. I think it's very important when we exchange our experience, our knowledge. I think, yes, it's a lot of us now. Maybe we will have much smaller group in the future, but I think it's the most important when we share our experience. But everybody, every parish has some experience, something what is good, what is working for you. Thank you very much for this. God bless all of you.
Дякуємо, Владико. And shall we end with a prayer? Чеснішого від херувимів і незрівняно славнішого від серафимів, що без затління Богослава породила, сущу Богородицю тебе величаємо. Слава Отцю і Сину і Святому Духові, нині повсякчас і на віки віків. Амінь. Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй. Пресвященний Владико, благослови.
God bless all of us now and forever and ever.
Amen. Ispoliti despota. Thank you, everybody, very, very much for a wonderful discussion, wonderful exchange of ideas. I think we at the commissions have our marching orders from everyone, and certainly we will start. We here in Chicago will make sure to communicate not with just our priests, but with pastoral and parish councils as well. Just a quick reminder: the final session of our Sobor is scheduled for Saturday, December 9th, same time, noon Central Time. That is the Feast of the Conception of St. Anne. So we will conclude our Sobor on that day, and the topic will be our parishes tomorrow. So we will be looking forward after 2 sessions on the past and on the present. And Father Proto-Deacon just reminded me that we do change the clocks tonight. Most of us, I don't know what you all do in Arizona. You're weird that way, but other than that, everybody changes your clocks. So and so don't forget
Too much work to change clocks. We don't in Arizona.
For those that
you
forget
don't
to
do
change,
that,
make
right?
sure you have matins ready to go for the people that come to church
There you go.
an hour
The
too
people that
early.
come an hour early, we can serve matins tomorrow. So there you go. Дякую всім. Thank you very much. Glory to Jesus Christ. Слава Ісусу Христу.
Слава навіки.
Віки.
Слава навіки. Дякую.